to the Matrescence, Cuarentena, and Grounding as a Mother online webinar. This is a pre-recording that I did for the people who weren't able to join live on the event on 9/7, but also for anyone else who finds this later and is curious about the topic. So thank you for being here. It'll look a little bit different than if you were to join the live webinar, but I'm still hoping that you get a lot. So this little sound bath meditation is one that I actually won't be playing for us here for the recording, but I will still link the link for it because sound bath meditations can be really helpful in bringing calm and loosening muscle tension, reducing stress, anxiety relief, and more. So this is something that you can play before you go to sleep, while you're washing dishes, when you're pumping, whatever you need a little extra calmness in your life. It's really cool. So jumping right in, Matrescence, Cuarentena, and Grounding as a Mother. First, nice to meet you. My name is Joanna Lee. I'm a first-gen Chicana bilingual licensed therapist here in California. I have many years working with kids and family. I'm also a first-time mama to a 9-month-old. And you can find me on Instagram and YouTube, Millennial Thermom. My YouTube, I really try to share information at least once a month, twice a month around mental health, specifically paternal mental health in those early few seasons. So if you check it out now, there are some episodes there on perinatal mood and anxiety disorders and more. And as a disclaimer, this webinar is not meant to be therapy or a mental health service. I am here just sharing information that I think would be helpful for any new parent to know. And this webinar is also very introductory. So there is, with each of these topics, there's just so much that we could talk about. And I just wanted to make sure to make something quick that we could start at least digesting the information and hoping to continue to build on that. So again, the main intentions of mine are for you to better understand matrescence, la cuarentena, and grounding. So we're gonna jump right in. And what will happen is you watch the video, you can either write it in the comments or even just take a note for yourself if you've ever heard of matrescence and if there's anything that stands out. And just as a little reminder, matrescence is specifically the transition to motherhood, but there's also patrescence, which can be the transition to fatherhood. So if you're partnered with somebody who's become a father too, just being mindful that like, oh, they're going through their own transition as well. I thought that was really insightful when I first watched it. And I think it explains a lot of what I was feeling / continue to feel. So I hope that that was helpful for you and you have a new word for your vocabulary. So I like it when, she mentioned that when a child is born, so is a mother. And this is like in an ideal scenario, what it looks like. Maybe you feel like you've been uprooted from maybe who you used to be, but then you get rebrooted and then you get like tender cared into your process. But in reality, this is what it feels like. If you know, you know. For many women, so it could feel this like I am fallen, I'm down, I don't know who I am. And we're going to be talking more about that, why it feels like this. But
when I was delivering baby,
one of the reasons is that we aren't able to process and be supported through the changes in this vulnerable and amazing season. At least here in the United States healthcare system, I know I didn't have a visit for myself until at least 6 weeks postpartum, and that was pretty much just to talk about birth control, sex, etc. There was a little survey that I filled out, but if I'm being honest with you, I don't think I responded truthfully. And I think a lot of people still struggle with that shame, right? Like, oh, I don't want to, I feel bad if I feel bad, basically. And this is why we need to talk about it and why I'm sharing this with you. I really, really, really like this video. It's a clip from a longer video, but this is one of the things that specifically hit me directly too. And there are changes that happen in our productivity and self-worth sometimes because we live in a society that does value independence, hustle, grind, performance. So if you are somebody who is used to that rhythm and all of a sudden become a mother, there might be some changes. So again, I'm going to just share this quick clip.
When I was delivering babies, and I was talking to women who were really, really competent professionally, I'd sometimes say, listen, just watch out for this. Because the way you're used to yourself, the competence and capability that you genuinely exhibit in your work life, all of a sudden will not be available to you when you're parenting. It'll be 2 in the afternoon and you're still wearing your night clothes and you're wondering where the whole day has gone and questioning your competence. But that's the nature of looking after a baby and of not sleeping at night and all that goes along with having a new infant in the home. So you really have to let go of the expectations that all your life you've laid on yourself. Now, of course, if a person, male or female, has learned very early in life that the way they're acceptable to others or to themselves is if they're perfect, then that's deeply ingrained. And then that perfectionism then exacerbates the oppression because not only are you not feeling well, you're also falling far short of your self-imposed expectations.
Alrighty, so if you felt that and you need to take a little deep breath, go ahead with me. Just take a deep breath in through your nose and release. I know the first time that I heard this, I had a little tear. And I think it just brought me back to those first few months where I didn't know what I was doing. Breastfeeding was really hard. I didn't know when I was supposed to shower. And at the same time, I was feeling like I should have been more productive. So if there's anything that I want to share with anybody who has been through the season, is coming up on the season, or is reflecting on this season, just know that you are enough just the way you are. You're enough for your baby, and that just the expectations sometimes need to look a little bit different. It's okay to catch those expectations and remind ourselves we are doing enough. You are worthy. So enter La Cuarentena. So the Cuarentena is a Latin American 40-day postpartum tradition, really focused on moms recovering, resting and healing, bonding with baby, being nurtured and supported both emotionally and practically. So this is meals, chores, massages. And what's interesting about the Cuarentena is that it takes some intentional planning in this country, because even my own mom, who is Mexican, she had her first child here in the United States. And I asked her about this, and she's like, I didn't have time for that, or like, that's something that like the older tradition used to do. And I think that to this day, my mom works really, really hard. Like, it's hard for her to rest. It's hard for her to be taken care of. And sometimes I wonder, like, what would it have looked like if she had was given the opportunity to just be supported through this foundational time of parenting. And I think that's why I want to make sure that more parents know about this, because even though it may not look like the traditional cuarentena in other countries, you can still create your own. I'm actually working on something I'll be releasing in a few months, like called the Chicana Cuarentena. And it's kind of just like my version of like, okay, as a Chicana here in the United States, what are some of these things that I feel would have been really helpful for me these first 6 weeks postpartum, or other moms can experience it. You don't have to be Chicana to do it. You can create your own version, and just rest, right? So some of the additional cuarentena practices are avoiding cold showers and cold air, abdomen binding with a faja, herbal baths, covering your head and feet to stay warm, drinking hot liquids and eating hot soups, and more. So it's really this time to protect, nurture, cover the mom, because there is an understanding that this foundational season of a mom's life is really important for her long-term health and for her babies too. When we are better as mothers, when we are healthier, we're more attuned. We can show up for our babies. We can make eye contact, which they need so much. We can bond and release oxytocin, which they need so much. So this book is actually one that's coming out by Paketsani. I actually went to her summit and attended a few of the summits, hearing presentations on there. I think it's going to be an amazing book. I have it pre-ordered. I'm not a sponsor, but I do think that if you're more curious about it, you can check out this book. I'll also link it in the description and in the email that I send out. And it's not just Latin America. So other cultures also understand the importance of receiving care and rest in the sacred and vulnerable transition. In Chinese tradition, there is something called sitting the month, which is a month, of rest. In Korea, I don't know how to pronounce this correctly, so I apologize. Samchil, which is 21 days. And in India, there is this resting season while also experiencing warm oil massages in the first 40 days. So I just think that we need to tap into other cultures and see what have they been doing for generations, what has ancestral wisdom taught them, and start to incorporate it in our own lives. So what can we do? Oh, that picture isn't there, but I'll link it. It was a book. And so what can we do here in the United States to support this transition? First, we can prioritize and treat the fourth trimester as a critical time of healing and adjustment for new parents. That sets the stage for long-term health and well-being, from the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. So the book that the image was supposed to be there is called The Fourth Trimester, and it's a postpartum guide to healing. And I'll also link that, but I personally have been reading that and I'm like, okay, I wish I would have like read this, but now that I know, I'm sharing what I know. Few other things: adjusting these expectations and learning to embrace good enough. Making a plan for what support can look like in postpartum. What kind of help do you need? What kind of meals, laundry do you, whatever, right? What does it look like for you? Advocating for your needs, whether that's pelvic floor therapy, again, somebody to do the dishes, whatever. And finding support groups and support people, whether it's mental health, a doula, lactation consultant, etc. Continuing limiting our social media. Honestly, I think that's one of the more harmful things sometimes when we're in postpartum and we see all these like images of moms with like shiny kitchens and 3 babies, and you're just like, how? So no, knowing that that's not real. At least that's not 100% real. Practicing letting yourself rest. It is not being lazy. I think some of us need to hear that. It literally, resting is important, is productive. Challenging the mean critical inner voice that will and does pop up. The one that tells us we're not doing enough, the one that tells us we're not meant to be a mom, whatever that voice sounds like for you. Talking about motherhood, matrescence, and more with others, especially other moms in this season with you. And then embracing grounding. So those two actually have a group starting up that's very much focused on like this transition into motherhood and grounding in it. So I'll share more about it too. But now, as you just kind of hear everything, for you, what do you think being grounded looks like, feels like, it sounds like, specifically in your motherhood? So you can pause the video if you need a little bit more time, but I'll go ahead and jump to the next section. These are some of the things that came to my mind as I thought about what does it look like to feel grounded personally, present, intentional, balanced, confident, content, connected, healthy, attuned, self-aware, patient, hopeful, etc. So I don't know if you can see the picture in the back, but there's a storm and these trees, they're hanging on. And I think about that in life, like when storms happen, when there's just a lot going on, a lot of stress, like, are we feeling grounded still? Are we still rooted? Versus over here, right? This tree is thrown to the side. So when we're not grounded, it could look like fatigue, burnt out, extra irritable, extra annoyed, short fuse, restless, anxious, overwhelmed, hurried, sick, achy, more yelling. And I want to say that it's okay to feel not grounded sometimes. We're human, so we're going to feel that. I think for me, the emphasis is more when we catch ourselves feeling not grounded, can we do something to get us grounded again? Because when we live in the not grounded area, it looks like survival parenting, it looks like burnout, it looks like depression, it looks like anxiety. And I think we need more support to be able to get back into the grounding. And even if that means I'm going to just take an hour to myself and go to Target in a room or whatever. So we'll talk more about ways to get grounded, but I just wanted to put that out there. And grounding is a mindfulness-based practice that helps us focus on the present moment to help regulate overwhelming emotions, including anxiety, worry, racing thoughts, etc. It takes practice to live from attention, awareness, and presence. I know it's a typo. So I really like this visual because I think it helps break down something like mindfulness, like literally when we have our mind full versus when we are mindful of what's around us, right? So instead of jumping to the future, jumping to the past of everything that can happen or has happened, really just at least for a microsecond, like a moment, okay, I'm here in this moment. It has happened to me as a new mom many, many times, and I want to be able to look back and remember this season. So I want that for other people too. So again, think about bringing it back to motherhood. What are some things you feel like you think would help ground you? So just reflect a little bit. Take a little journal out if you want to pause me right here. That might be nice journaling. It's actually on the list. So I'm giving that away. But take a pause. So these are one of the many, many ways. Again, I think grounding is personal to you and your needs, but I'll just go over some of these, many of these, which I personally use. Remembering your intentions and values when making decisions. So instead of going into guilt or spiral, being like, no, like I'm making this decision based off of this value, and that's okay. Even if somebody else is upset, that's okay. Journaling, again, can help bring out everything that's in your mind and help get some clarity on it. Taking some time for yourself to fill your cup, whether that means taking a bath, moving, solo store trips, etc. Mindfulness, again, that's a practice in and of itself. There's so much that goes into it. Well, not so much that goes into it, but there's a lot of different practices that look like mindfulness that are part of mindfulness. But you can do like a mindful tea break, just drinking your tea, or mindful dishes, just while you're washing the dishes, being aware of the thoughts that come through your mind and letting them pass. Going out into nature is really grounding. Asking for help can be grounding because you're getting your needs met. Meditation or a prayer practice. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, which if you haven't heard about it, it's the five senses. So you go notice 5 things around you, 4 things that you can see, 4 things that you can touch, 3 things that you can hear, 2 things that you can smell, 1 thing that you can taste, and helps bring you back to the moment. Taking deep breaths, and remember, like breathing in through your nose at least 4 seconds, holding for a few seconds, and releasing slowly. So if you can release 7 seconds. So in 4, hold, release. Doing that as often as you need. Self-compassion. So catching yourself when you're being mean to yourself and being like, no, I'm good enough. Remembering you're already enough connected. Community and real connection, especially with other moms. So actually talking about like, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. So why is grinding so hard sometimes? Because you're human with a nervous system that cut off. But yes, because you're human, basically our nervous system typically goes into 3 different states. One of them being hyper arousal, another one being hypoarousal, and the other one being in your window. And throughout life, you can see this little curve. There are things that happen that might, bop us out of our window and into this place where we're feeling fight or flighty, right? We're feeling angry, we're feeling anxiety. And there's also things that will pop us into hypoarousal, where we might feel depressed or shut down. And that's okay. It's not wrong to get dipped there. What happens is that when we are in this fight, flight, or freeze, digestion doesn't work as well. A lot of our like mind body is connected. So we might start having some like heart palpitations, we might have difficulty breathing, and this all affects us in the long term. It could cause like increased blood pressure and more. So the trick is figuring out, okay, how do I get back into my window when I feel that? And grounding is a great way to do this. This picture is, I liked it because depending on your zone, so maybe you're like fight or flighty, right? You might need something specifically to get you back into that safety window of tolerance. So maybe taking deep breaths, looking at objects around you, feeling your feet in the ground. That's a good way to ground. and get back into your window. But if you're feeling more on the hypoarousal, so you're feeling shut down, you're feeling like little energy, what you might need then is going for a run or a walk, standing up, any kind of brisk movement, talk to a friend, yoga breath with fast breathing, because I would not recommend fast breathing if you're already feeling anxious, right? We want to slow it down, but if you're feeling like I'm slow already, you might want to pick it up. And again, orienting yourself to surroundings. If you're already within your window, and you can just continue to do things that help regulate you. So that's again connecting to the five senses around you, meditation, not multitasking. That was a really hard one for me, but trying to put your attention to one thing and movement. So, oops, these pictures aren't popping up, but again, I'll connect them in the sections, but one of them is just joining the Millennial Thermom community. That could be next for you. It's a free online community that has different sections like resources, upcoming events, including free and low cost. Any groups, updates, anything like that will be posted here. And there's a little section to have conversations with the community. So make sure to join that. To stay posted with the Millennial Thermom, basically you can go onto the website or follow me on Instagram at millennialthermom.com. And last but not least, if you are a provider for perinatal population, so whether that means you work with pregnant or postpartum families in any capacity, like doula, lactation, body work, etc., I've also created a free village collective where you can, very similar to the Millennial Thermom community, you can connect with others who are also doing this amazing work and attend upcoming grounding events, etc. And speaking of events, there is a few different events coming up. I have a monthly Baby and Me virtual dance party with a Spanglish playlist because I think representation matters and I love Latino music. The next one is actually September 28th at 12 p.m. If you join the Millennial Thermom community at 10url what was it? MTM Welcome, you'll be able to sign up for that then. There's also a grounding in new parenting little like, I don't know if it's just like a space for us to really intentionally ground. I'll be going through different activities such as meditation, sound bath, journaling, just to mix it up a little bit and bringing it back to like, how are we doing? Even if it's just, I can only go once a month, or okay, I can commit to going every other week. However often you're able to, I would recommend